In October 2009, zombies were introduced into the Star Wars franchise with Joe Schreiber's novel, Death Troopers. The story starts off with the Purge, a prison barge experiencing engine troubles while traveling throughout the galaxy. Eventually, they come across an Imperial Star Destroyer and a small group boards it in search for parts to repair their engine. Instead, they get infected with a virus that reanimates the infected into zombies, and the rest of the book features the small group of survivors trying to survive the zombie outbreak. This novel is a great read, not just for around Halloween, but as a Star Wars read as well. However, I'll start with just a few minor complaints, my first being the pacing at the beginning of the story. I felt that it was a little slow at first. Even though it does pick up in the last 3/4 of the book, I had to trudge through the first quarter of the book to get there. Now this story features two of the main heroes from the films, Han Solo and Chewbacca, and while I was okay with them being there, they didn't really feel necessary to the story as they were mostly there by coincidence, and it did somewhat spoil part of the ending since clearly I knew they would survive the zombies, and part of me thinks it might have made more sense to have a character already established in the Empire, like Vader or Tarkin, if they wanted to include someone familiar to the story. Now, apart from those small issues, Death Troopers is a really good book, and I do recommend it. I thought that the author did a great job at combining Star Wars with zombies, and the book was well written to the point I was able to envision the action and the chaos. And the suspense kept me invested at least through the last third of the book. I think Death Troopers would make a great read for Halloween, but could also be enjoyed any other time of the year as well. Now, being a story about zombies, it does come with some zombie tropes. And even with it being based in the Star Wars universe, it doesn't really change that. But I thought this book was well written, and I'm going to give Death Troopers by Joe Schreiber 4 out of 5 stars. 1 year later, after Death Troopers came out, a prequel was written called Red Harvest, originally titled The Black Orchid. The prequel was also written by Joe Schreiber. The story takes place within the times of the Old Republic at least 3,000 years before the Battle of Yavin and the events of Death Troopers. A Sith Lord named Darth Scabrous comes into possession of a plant called the Murakami Orchid and begins to tamper with its power, inadvertently causing a zombie outbreak. Now the big question is, did this novel hold up to the same level as Death Troopers? Well, no. Unfortunately, this book was disappointing for me, and I didn't care for it at all. I tried to read this book last year, but had no desire to finish it. I later reread it and forced myself to finish just for the purpose of giving an honest review. And I'm gonna be honest, if you have to force yourself to finish a book, to me, it's just not worth finishing. Overall, I found the story dull and I had trouble staying focused. I will say the depictions of zombie attacks and violence were more graphic than the first novel, which in some ways was a good thing, but it also got a little cheesy in parts. I mean, we get this moment in the book where a zombie picks up their severed, zombified head and hurls it at their victim. This scene was amusing and creepy and cheesy all at the same time, and it just kind of shows how over the top this book gets at times. You'd think with moments like that the story might even be a fun read, but unfortunately they really didn't do much to up the dragging pace of the story. This isn't a book I would recommend to read even for Halloween unless you either want to read about Sith Lords becoming zombies or if you want to read all of the Star Wars Expanded Universe novels. Otherwise, if you're just curious, I would just recommend skipping it, and personally I would highly recommend Death Troopers over this book. I'm going to give Red Harvest 1.5 out of 5 stars. Guys, thanks so much for checking out my reviews for Death Troopers and Red Harvest. I hope you enjoyed this video and found my reviews helpful. And if you did, then please hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel to stay updated for more Star Wars reviews and discussions. I hope you all have a happy Halloween and hope you guys have lots of fun, and please stay safe tonight. I'll see you guys again for my next video, but until then, this is Red 5, standing by.